Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker. The Western media and the United Nations portray Israel as the evil actor when it comes to all things Palestinian. Very few credible sources exist to personally tell the real story from the days of PLO founder Yasser Arafat to the creation of Fatah and the influences in Gaza led by Hamas and the militant group Islamic Jihad. Millions of people are suffering, but is it at the hands of Israel or by their own leadership? Who better to tell this story than our dear friend Tass Saada Saada, author of Once an Arafat Man and the Mind of Terror, and is a former Muslim and the founder of Hope for Ishmael, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to reconcile Muslims to the Father and then to all the world. Born in 1951 in the Gaza Strip, he grew up in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. He worked under Yasser Arafat as a Fatah fighter and sniper. Years after immigrating to the United States, he became a believer. He and his wife Karen spent 10 years in the Middle East establishing schools and leading other Muslims to Jesus. Here to share the new vision of their ministry, Hope for Israel, and to give us a look behind the walls of Jericho on the Gaza Strip is my dear brother, Tass Saada. Tass, so good to see you again, my friend.
Rabbi, it's always good to be with you. It's encouraging. You know, the fact you're a Jew and I'm an Arab, and I'm standing here praising God for you and you praising God for me, that is a testimony that the world, the UN, needs to see.
Amen.
Because that's the truth. This is what we see here is the truth that needs to be going everywhere. You know, I was just sharing with you, Rabbi, you were talking to me about the fact that you went to Israel eventually, and how you went to Israel and how were you not captured. I was an assassin for Yasser Arafat, and I did a lot of evil things against Israeli commanders and leaders, but yet the Israelis did capture me, they did question me, they tortured me, not really evenly, but repeated questions, all the same question, and 14 hours. And I did not hide anything. I said to the Lord, I said, Lord, I'm going to go. If they capture me, I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm not going to hide anything. And I did. At the end of 14 hours, the person that was questioning me, the agent, he said, okay, what you have said and what you have shared is good. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you a permission to enter into Israel. Go directly to the Ministry of Interior and meet with the Ministry of Interior Director and share with him exactly what you shared with me here. And then let it go from there. So my wife was with me. And so we went. And I shared the same thing. And you know something? They were so touched. They said, because of your honesty, we're going to try to help you, because we need people like you who believes in the truth, who believes in Israel. Because I told them, I do believe in Israel. I stand in the right of for the right of Israel. I'm willing to die for the soul of a Jew, and I meant it. This is not just to get there. They knew I meant it. And so for 6 months they tried to get me a visa to stay in Israel, because I was going to the Gaza Strip at the time to start schools and start raising up a new generation of Palestinians, basically. But at the end, the minister, the director of the Ministry of Interior could not get me the visa I needed, and I had to leave. But she said, I believe you need to stay. I'm going to look into something else. And he helped me in a different way. And eventually I was able to stay. And I was able to stay for 15 years between the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and Israel, building a communities, a movements of Arabs and Jews coming together for the sake of the kingdom. And so you were asking me, how did you get into Israel? And I was telling you how. This is really the truth, and that's where I realized the Israelis, when you are honest with them and you work straight with them, they will walk straight with you. You start twisting around with them, they will make your life miserable. And I experienced that quite well, and I praise God. And you know, all of this that Trump is even trying to do with the two-state solution and all of this, I'm not all for that.
No.
I'm for one state Israel, for both to live equally and justly. And if we are really followers of Jesus and believe, we need to be working towards that.
Amen.
That's the only answer.
Amen. God says, never again will my land be divided.
Yes.
Never
Amen.
again will my land be divided. Never will it be two states, two kingdoms, Judah and Israel. Never again. He says that in his word.
Yes.
Tass, and I've known you now for a number of years. I know your rabbi, Shmuel Wolkenfeld. You came to faith in a Messianic synagogue. You have a wonderful, amazing story. But the story you tell is really a commentary on the heart of Israel. At 7 years old, I sat next to David Ben-Gurion, who was in Pittsburgh to honor my grandfather as the Israel Bonds Man of the Year. And as this man who I didn't know was being escorted down the aisle with my grandfather, he stopped to introduce David Ben-Gurion to my mother and father and to his other children. And I walked up to him. And he looked at me and said, "Who are you?" I said, "I am his grandson, and I will be just like him." He said, "Then you will sit next to me." And so at 7 years old, 1959,
Wow.
I walked up the steps with David Ben-Gurion and sat at the head table with my grandfather because I wanted to be just like my grandfather. And my grandfather was a Zionist, but he didn't believe that he would have to go to Israel to be a Zionist. He said, if all the Jews go to Israel, who's going to be left in America to stand up for the Jews and to raise money for the Jews? Now, isn't it interesting that you too have a heart for Israel in your ministry, Hope for Ishmael, right? And you make trips, but you didn't move back now. You live in Kansas City. Yeah. You have your daughter, wonderful. I've interviewed her. She's delightful, wonderful. Mm-hmm. And this new Lead with Love program that you are developing, which is going to even further ignite the 25 years that you and Karen have served to train Christians worldwide to reach Muslim neighbors with God's love. You're now setting up educational training curriculum in the Middle East. You've invited me to Jericho. Unfortunately, you may want me in Jericho, but they don't want me in Jericho.
No, I'll take you into Jericho. Don't worry.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one. You know, they may. I'd have to go alone. My brother in Israel won't go in, and neither will my driver. Neither will my driver. And the big sign tells me to keep out too. But the day is going to come. The day is going to come because there's people like you that know the truth of Islam, and the truth of Islam is not being told. You have been not just a voice of reconciliation, You've also been a voice of the truth of what's really happening. And I want your commentary, because you knew Yasser Arafat, you know the vision of Fatah, you know the vision of Hamas, you know the vision of Islamic Jihad, you know what's behind it, and you know that it's no different than any other get rich, control the money, subjugate the people, let them live in poverty, but yet Abbas and Arafat lived in luxury. They didn't live in poverty, did they?
Well, I have to be honest about one thing. Arafat never lived in luxury. He was running all the time, and he's always living in a very, very poor areas in order to protect himself. And I testify to that. It wasn't Arafat that robbed the people, it's the cronies around Arafat. But yet he was a leader, and he knew and he saw, and he didn't stop it. That's where I fault him for it. But for him to be stealing money, he was a millionaire himself. He started the whole movement with his own money. So, but he allowed those cronies. I call them cronies because they are really thugs. And they are still, many of them are still in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip, robbing the people. And I just heard the news about a week ago that Netanyahu is going to annex the West Bank. And I was jumping, saying, hallelujah! Yes! Yes, Lord! Because that's the proposal that I sent to Trump. I was involved in getting ideas for Trump administration of how to deal with this, and the deal of the century. The deal of the century that Trump is proposed is actually a disaster of the century. It should have been annexing the West Bank, leave Gaza out of this, annexing the West Bank entirely, and then work to give the Palestinians equal and just life and better life. When Netanyahu annexed the Golan Heights, I said, oh man, that's it. That's the beginning. And now he's annexing the West Bank, and I hope and pray that him and his new partner, they will do work together to bring justice without blood and shed. Without shedding blood, because we don't want to see any more blood shed on either side. The Palestinian people are tired. The Israeli people are tired. They both want to see peace. I just attended a conference, a Zoom conference, just yesterday with Israeli and Palestinians, and many of them working together to try to bring an understanding in order to, and those were Israeli Arabs and Israeli Jews. Those were not Palestinian from the West Bank. And so there is an understanding there to see something different brought up, something to bring peace and stability for the whole area. Because, Rabbi, listen to me. The hope for Ishmael, the Arab people, is the hope for Israel, the Jewish people. And the hope for Jewish people and Arab people is the world, is the hope of the world. Because when these two come together, that's when we see peace. And you know who is really the answer for all of this? Jesus.
Amen.
The hope for Ishmael is the hope for Israel. The hope for Israel is the hope of the world. And the hope of the world is Jesus.
Amen.
And this is what I live for. And that's why my wife and I decided to come back to the United States. We lived in Israel and the West Bank and Gaza for the last 15 years. But a year ago, since I wrote my second book, The Mind of Terror, and I was traveling in Europe at the time, I was in Holland actually, and I saw the influx of Muslims into Holland, and then I started looking at the rest of the Europe and the millions of Muslims that are moving into Europe. I started looking at the United States and find out the same thing in the United States. And that really hit me. And the question came into my heart, is the church ready for all of this? And the answer was scary. No, they're not. And that's when I thought, Lord, help me. I built good leaders, good teams back in the Gaza Strip, in the West Bank, in Israel, and help me to go back to the United States to start building a foundation to help the church how to reach your Muslim neighbors in love and respect. Because more Muslims like myself are converted, the more peace there is for Israel. Because our heart is automatically changed through the Word of God, through the Torah in particular. That's where my heart was changed. And so the more of us are converted, the more peace we will see in the Middle East and for the rest of the world. And this is what we are doing today. And we just finished and published and began the first class of Lead with Love program. And it's been so successful, and many Americans, so far we're starting here in Kansas City, but we're then expanding over to the rest of the United States and Europe. I had an invitation to the Dutch Parliament, to The Hague, believe it or not. They want to understand, what am I doing? And what is this program you're talking about? So I told them exactly what it is, and I shared my testimony with them. And some of them were in tears. And they said, we want to have this program brought here. These Muslims are taking over the nation. And they are building mosques and converting people. So now the book is sent out to Holland for translation. And The Hague, the European Union, The Hague, the Dutch government, is going to work on helping the rest of the European Union translating this program into all those languages. So praise God.
You know, the average American has a limited understanding of the truth of the Great Commission. It's really been the Great Omission. It's preached the gospel to everybody but the Muslims and the Jews, because we're the hardest to reach.
Yes, right.
We're the hardest to reach. Okay, we're tough, we're convicted, and we're hard to reach.
Well, here is the thing, Rabbi. You know, the Jews, they don't kill their people. They make them live so miserable that they wish they were dead.
Amen.
The Muslims, they kill their people. You know, my own family for 11 years sent paid assassins after me to kill me. But having been trained as an assassin, God used that in order to protect myself. And praise God, I'm still alive, praising the Lord.
You know, your story is fascinating because as the whole beginning of your separation was really because you missed. You were assigned to assassinate, if I remember the story correctly, because Jordan would not support the PLO.
Yeah.
That
Prince al-Hassan was.
Right, Hussein.
King Hussein, but the one that I tried to assassinate was the crown prince, which is Prince al-Hassan.
And you missed.
Thank God.
Right. But that struck terror in you, that the punishment for missing Was what?
Getting out of there very quickly.
Yeah, you got to get out fast or you're not going to get out at all.
And you know something? It was Arafat who got me out.
Ah.
He really was the one who got me out. The other group, because it wasn't ordered by Arafat, it was my own initiative to assassinate the crown prince. And I had 12 or 11 of my team with me. All the 11 were turned over to the Jordanian Authority, and Arafat smuggled me out, basically.
You see, it's such a fascinating story, and what people don't realize is that this whole situation, that the annexation of the West Bank, is prophetic because in Ezekiel 38, one of the precursors is that Israel is sovereign in the land. That means Israel has to have sovereignty over that which God says they will be sovereign. Number two, it says it will be cities without walls, without gates, and without bars. Well, I'm in Israel every year. For 17 years, I'm in Israel. I have to go through Checkpoint Charlie. I got to go through, in order to go through the West Bank to travel to go up north, to come back south, I have to go through that. Now, if the West Bank is annexed, will those gates and those bars disappear? If that's the case, well, then all of a sudden we're starting to see another check mark in a box.
Now, I think it is going to get more checkpoints for a period of time, because the proposal that I sent, just to give you a little idea, the proposal that I sent is really a proposal that was worked out with a team of Israelis and a team of Palestinians in Israel. And one of them was the ex-deputy director of the Mossad, who's retired. Yeah, retired. And brilliant man. That's why I really was sold on his ideas. The idea was to send this proposal, which I did. I was invited to the White House, and I told them about the proposal and gave it, to give equal share to the Palestinians and an equal treatment, basically, and to leave the Gaza Strip out of the equation and leave that, and try to integrate the Palestinians into the Israeli community and to live equally and to be able to go in and out freely. But naturally, for Israel's security, is recommended that they do increase the checkpoints again in order to make sure nobody's going to play game. And then after 7 years, then the Palestinians, if they do integrate and really take part of Israel and become part of Israel, not Palestine, then they are given citizenship of Israel. Anyone that doesn't want to be part of it, I said to them, I wrote it in big letters, get the most beautiful, the most fancy buses, load those out and send them out to the Gaza Strip, if that's where they want to live. And that was part of the proposal that we sent to Trump. And Jason Greenblatt was part of this. And when he saw the proposal, he said, we sent even maps. We sent even maps of Israel, how Israel is according to Ezekiel 47.
Yes.
What is the borders of Israel? And we sent those maps as well. And then something happened. I don't know what happened. I know Jason Greenblatt is no longer part of the equation now. He resigned his position. But Freeman is part of it now, and I'm in contact with them also. We're trying to make it work somehow. You know, those crooked leaders, Palestinian leaders, and there are those crooked Israeli leaders too. I mean, they're not angels either.
Right.
But if we are able to get their heads together to make a canton kind of government like Switzerland, this would work. It would work. And take that as an example, and I'm sure the Israelis will be the Swiss would be very happy to take part in this to help it.
You know, what's interesting is that the generation that was offered citizenship in 1948,
yeah,
that there was going to be, if you're here and you want to be Israeli, we'll give you citizenship. Doesn't matter whether you're Arab, you're Jew, you're Kurd, doesn't matter what you are. If you're here, you can offer. That generation, 1948, that generation is now gone. Their offspring are carrying on, but there's a new generation rising up that are seeing that things aren't good.
That's true.
That Fatah is not fair, that they're not getting equality, they're not getting equity, they're not growing, they're not getting the opportunities they were promised. When you look at the division between the influence of Abbas in the West Bank and the separate government in Gaza, it's not unified. And when you finally
Rabbi,
yes.
Rabbi, we have to be balanced, and I know you are a fair man.
Yes.
And you are a rabbi. If we let's not look on the West Bank and the Gaza and Israel and the divide and the difference in the life standard and all of this. Well, don't go that far. Just go into Israel and go to the Palestinian side or the Israeli Arab side.
Yes.
And how they live and how their life is. I mean, there has to be equal justice. When you build settlements that is like a paradise, and then you have next to it a little village that looks like from the 18th century, there is something wrong there. So when we are talking about equality, when I start talking about equality and justice, it's justice for both. Give equal justice. Help them to build up their economy. Help them to build up. That's what I want Israel to do.
Well,
and I know Israel will do it.
I believe so. They just advanced money to assist.
Last week.
Just
a few days ago.
Yeah, just recently. You know, when we
millions. Millions.
Yeah. When we think of the heart of Israel is life. They don't. The heart of Israel is life. Life. They want. When the children.
100%.
Right. When the children see it. When you see the children, and you see the little boy who's holding the hand of the little Arab girl, and you see in the left-hand side the little Ethiopian Jewish child. So you have black Jewish, you have white Jewish, and then you have Arab, and all three children are skipping along. They don't know anything about politics. They don't know anything. They know heart, love, that's my friend. We need to take like little children, right? And we need
That's what the Bible says.
Right. We need to repair and restore. And there's history, and the history is not good history.
No,
it's not good history. But
4,200 years of it.
Right. America doesn't have good history. You and I have lived over 25% of America's history. It's not good history.
No,
the Civil War, the War of 1812, the Spanish-American War. We can go on and on and on about the wars and the problems. Okay, not a good history. But we have a young 72-year-old state of Israel that has a chance to write the next chapter of its history, to bring new reconciliation. Okay? Not the bitter hatred that says that Israel doesn't have a right to exist. Let's silence that voice and say What does a unified Israel look like when
I like that.
true democracy, when all have equal opportunity, when you want your young Arab son to go to school, to become an engineer for Intel, or for Microsoft, or for Teva, or for any of those companies, the church, you need to stop with your boycott, divest, and sanction. You need to get on board. You need to get on board and invest in Israel. You need to join Lead with Love program at Hope for Israel, Ishmael, to educate, to bring the gospel message of love. And when somebody is dealt with in love day in and day out, they want to hear what you have to say. Why are you doing this? Because I love you. Well, why do you love me? You're supposed to hate me. I don't hate you. My God doesn't hate you. Okay? If you were told to hate me, that's your deal. I love you. You don't have to love me. I love you. I'm going to do this because I love you.
Yes. Rabbi, I have in Gaza, you know, when I lived there, we had 108 converted Muslims. And one of them was getting ready with explosive build and everything, getting ready to go to do a suicide operation in Israel. And Jesus appeared to him that night and said, I am Jesus, what you are about to do is evil. This guy's life totally changed naturally. He didn't do the operation. He was hunted down by Hamas because he didn't. And so we rented 12 different apartments all over the Gaza Strip so that he can be running and hiding. Now he's one of my key leaders. We were able to get his ID all changed, and we got our ways of working wisely. And those, when I was kicked out of there by Hamas because of what I was doing, only 78 was left. Until today, even their parents don't know what happened to those 30 that were existing. Until today. But you know what happened? From that 78, today there are 230 converted Muslims that loves Israel and stand for the right of Israel. And nobody tried to teach them that. The Word of God teach them that.
Amen. Amen.
This is the same thing in the West Bank. We did the same thing. And our team in the West Bank, same thing. In Israel, Jews that we have been able to reach. And now here in the United States. And this is where we need to really work so hard to get Muslims converted in order to bring that peace. That's the answer.
That is the answer. You know, we had Nani Darwish on with us, and she said she visited the mosque in Los Angeles, and they were preaching the same hatred that they were preaching in Cairo. The same message being preached, and we have to take that message of jihad, of the message of hate, the message of subjugation, and we need to turn it into a message of love. We're going to take a short break, but while we're on break, I want you to go to hopeforisrael.org.
Hope for Ishmael.
Hopeforishmael.org. We have it right on the screen. And type in Lead with Love. Click on the Lead with Love program, and it gives you information about how you and your congregation can sign up for an 8-week journey and go to these classes, attend, learn how to reach the Muslim community in your city, get a copy of Once an Arafat Man and the Mind of Terror and the Love Journey Journal, and then with extended access you can become a community, launch a strategic initiative right there in your own home, and take this journey with Tass Saada, with his lovely wife, with his daughter, who are running, champion this cause for bringing the gospel to the lost descendants of Ishmael.
Yes.
Because there must be hope for Ishmael. We cannot withhold the love of Messiah
Yes.
from even the least of these.
Yes.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Tass Saada. The Lord meets you right where you are, and so does Igniting a Nation's new live streaming outlets. You can now watch Revealing the Truth, Revealing the Bible, and Prophecy Revealed simulcast live each Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Vimeo, Periscope, and through our website, www.ignitinganation.com. No matter what device you are using, our program will automatically scale so you won't have to miss a single program. And if you happen to miss an episode, you can always subscribe to the Igniting a Nation YouTube channel and access over 1,000 interviews and never miss your favorite authors, special guests, and topics that interest you the most.
There are lots of ways to see Israel, but nothing compares to seeing the land of the book and the people of the book through the eyes of two Jewish believers who can take you on a journey that will bring the entire Bible to life. When you join Rabbi Eric Walker and his #1 rated tour guide, Edo Canaan, in Israel, you'll experience incredible teachings, first-class accommodations, and actually walk where Jesus walked. You will experience the Bible transforming from black and white into living color, and you will never see the Bible in the same way again. For more information, visit us at www.ignitinganation.com/events.
The Lord contends with what contends with you, and Igniting a Nation is committed to bringing to light each and every issue that faces a believer's life. Our live stream programming and teachings take you on a journey to finding biblical truth from a wide variety of experts who share their insights into a deeper walk with the Lord. We have assembled the most comprehensive panel of experts in the fields of prophecy, caregiving, healing from trauma, shame, and abuse, and so much more. We continue to expand our teachings and programming to meet your needs. We're committed to healing the nations with biblical truth. Visit www.ignitinganation.com to develop a deeper walk with the Lord and start your journey to a transformed life. The Bible commands us to study to show ourselves approved, but most study using Bible study tools and not actually studying the Bible chapter and verse. Igniting a Nation is pleased to present Revealing the Bible, recorded and taught each week before a live audience. We take you deeper into the actual Bible and verse in both Hebrew and English and connect the dots between the Old and New Testament. You can attend our 2 classes in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, or watch the program every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time on ignitinganation.com and all our other simulcast outlets. For more information, visit www.ignitinganation.com/events. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heart lines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're talking with Tass Saada, author of Once an Arafat Man and the Mind of Terror, formerly working for Yasser Arafat as one of his snipers, now a champion for the faith who has a heart to see his fellow bloodline, his fellow blood brothers, born into Islam, to hear the truth of the gospel of the promised Jewish Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach. Tass, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Rabbi. It's always good to be with you.
Always good to see you, my friend. You're always on my heart. So you created the new Lead with Love program. You had Seeds of Hope in Jericho. Then that was a ministry you had there, building playgrounds and schools and ministering to the community in Jericho. You've now come back to the States. You've taken Hope for Ishmael. You've now added this new dimension, putting a target on America, saying, you know what? Islam is growing. There are new mosques being built. There's mosques being built in cities. I'll tell you, there was a $5 million mosque built in Montgomery, Alabama, that had no Muslim population, in preparation for immigration and migration and placement.
Exactly.
For placement, because there is jihad by immigration and naturalization. So Christians are having less children. Muslims are having more children. They're using this situation in Syria to say, I'm a refugee. I need to come to America, and cities are preparing in communities, and there's great wealth coming out of care, great wealth coming out of the Muslim, 55 Muslim states now contiguous around Israel, somewhere around 55. Great wealth being poured into America to build communities with beautiful $5 million for a mosque with a city that has no Muslim population. Why would they do that? And people just go, oh, isn't that beautiful? But you and I both know. All right?
They have agenda.
They have an agenda.
Let me explain something, Rabbi. You brought out a real important point. Most Christians don't even think about it. And this is the sad part. Even the church. I came back last year and I had an invitation to be the keynote speaker for the prayer breakfast meeting for the mayor of Overland Park. And the mayor was sitting next to me and he is leaning over to me and he said, Tass, we've got to talk. I said, what's going on, Mayor? He said, you know, the city next to me, Olathe, they are trying to buy a land and buy the largest Islamic center in the United States. In Kansas. And there is a mosque already about half a mile from my church. Huge mosque. And from that mosque to the next mosque that they're going to build, there's about 3 miles or 3.5 miles. So why? Why are they? Suddenly we have 1,500 Algerian immigrants right in that community of Olathe. And suddenly we have so many Sudanese, so many Somalis, so many Syrians, so many Jordanians. And suddenly we are seeing so many Muslims that they've never seen before. And Saudis. And the church still don't realize what's really going on. In my community, this little community of Kansas, metropolitan area of Kansas City, we have 81 Islamic centers out of 500,000 people. 81 Islamic centers that we know. So we set up a site, a link, where we are able to track down within your zone area, zip code, yeah. Within your zip code, we can tell you within a mile how many Muslims you have, who they are, what they are, how many children, what language they speak, what their culture is. We built, we didn't build it. We bought into a partnership with them in order for us to track all these out anywhere in the United States. Because our goal is to expand this out to the rest of the United States to see what is really going on. And the church needs to wake up. It really needs to wake up. Yes, we want to be kind and we want to love. Yeah, of course. We don't want to be hated. We need to reach them in love. But we got to wake up and understand what's really going on. They have a goal to Islamize America. This young man I was sharing with you, Rabbi, that gave his heart to Jesus already, is a young man that was raised in a madrasa all his life, from 1 year old all the way to 19 or 23 years old. He did his engineering school and was trained, and he knows the Bible better than you and me know the Bibles, because they taught him, and the Quran, of course. And then they sent him to America. Why? To do his master degree in engineering, in civil engineering. And the idea is to Islamize the Americans in there. And God put him right next to a very solid Christians that eventually led him to the Lord. And the Lord appeared to him in a vision to confirm what the young Christians were telling him. And now he's one of my team members. That is what we're trying to do, is to help the church to understand. Yes, we don't want to be uncivilized. We don't want to be neighborly. This is what the church is all about. But we need to understand who we're reaching and the reason we are reaching them.
Well, your heart has been pure since the day I met you. You've been a man of integrity and honesty about who you were and what you believed. And then when you gave your heart to Jesus, you gave all your heart. You didn't give part of your heart. And God put a burden on you, uniquely a burden on you, for hope for Ishmael, for seeds of hope, for your people.
Kingdom first. Hope for Gaza.
Of course.
All of these organizations we started,
Yes, all of this, because you knew the truth, and the truth set you free. And if it could set you free, okay, who were radically sold out, who was trained, if it could set you free, then it was for everyone else. So I want to encourage people, and we don't promote a lot of ministries on this network. We are a ministry ourselves. So when I put my name side by side with someone else, it means I've known them, I believe in them, I've seen their work, I know their family, I trust them. And this is a man I trust. And it's a ministry that I trust. And the ministry is called Hope for Ishmael, and the new program is called Lead with Love Program. You have a local community. You don't need to send a team of missionaries to Honduras or Guatemala or to some other country. In your neighborhood.
Exactly.
The man who sits behind the counter at the gas station that you've never gone inside to meet. He came to America because he was persecuted in Pakistan, because he was not going to live under the heavy hand of the Shiite agenda. So he came to America, but he's still a Muslim. He still needs to hear the gospel. But you don't know how to talk to him, so you pay at the pump because you don't want to go in. See, I go in. I don't pay at the pump anymore. I go in. I want to meet the man and hear his story, and show him, and have him, after 2 years of saying, why do you just come in to pay for gas? Why don't you just pay at the pump? I said, because I would never get to know you, and about your children, and about your experience, and to be able to tell you that there's something better. There's a God of love who loves you, and he sent me to tell you he loves you. I've been coming here for 2 years, and you finally asked me the question I've been waiting for you to ask me. Why do you keep coming in? And you don't buy anything else. You don't buy a drink. Why don't you pay at the pump, mister? I said, because I couldn't talk to you, and I couldn't meet you. I've been doing this for years with him now. It's now 7 years. 7 years.
That is great.
And he
That
tells
is
me his
really
stories, and he tells me what he believes, and I tell him what I believe. And right now we're in that just exchanging of information, but doing it in respectful love. Well, I believe it was, he says, I believe it was Ishmael that Abraham sacrificed. I said, and I believe that it was Isaac. And he said, well, do you have a holiday to celebrate that day? Because we do, and it's coming up. And I said, well, how do you celebrate that? And so he explained to me about the celebration. I tell him how I'm in Israel and usually doing Ramadan each year. And he goes, oh, you know Ramadan? I said, oh, of course. He said, well, I don't know anything about you. I said, well, let me tell you. What would you like to know? I'll answer any question. All right? I'll answer any question you have. I know Ramadan. You don't know mine. I'll be happy to tell you. What would you like to know? Now he's asking questions. Now he's asking questions. You see, the nicer, the more loving. Why all these years, mister, do you not pay at the pump?
Yeah.
Because I came to meet you, to know you. 7 years, man.
Rabbi, that's exactly what we teach on Lead with Love.
That's it. Lead with love. And I encourage our audience that if your church, when you're talking about returning, you're not going to return the same as you did 3 months ago. Everything has changed, and your church needs to change too. And you need to stay in your local community because your turf is being taken by a different gospel, a different agenda. And if you don't rise up to meet it, and you're paying attention to other places, your neighborhood will not look like your neighborhood after a while. These are their hearts. They're trained. You know, the scripture says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they grow older, they will not depart from it. They too have been trained as children. They haven't been made to think because no choice has ever been given to them. When you become the voice of love and they realize they can make a choice, that no one's holding a gun to their head, they're no longer under the oppressive hand, that they can have the freedom to make a choice, you might be surprised at how easy it is when you ask them about themselves and what they believe. This is this program, Lead with Love, and I take my hat off. I take my kippah off. To my dear friend Tass Saada. God bless you, my friend. Love to your wife. Love to your daughter. And bless you, bless you, bless you. And may the Lord bless all the works of your hand. And I just bless you in the name of Yeshua. And thank you. HopeForIshmael.org. Visit them, support them, get to know this story. Buy the books. Once Arafat's Man and Mind of Terror. Tass Abu Saada, I love you, my friend.
We have a package that we send
when they register. So register for this Lead with Love at HopeForIshmael.org. We got to go, but I love you, my friend. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Rabbi. It's so good to see you again.
God bless you. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the next edition of Revealing the Truth.
Okay.